What is going on? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we're going to be breaking down PFN's brand new 2-round mock draft. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, do that fun YouTube jazz. Below my face is my board. Below that is going to be the great ways to get even more connected with the community, as well as take advantage of our two sponsors of the show. Without further ado, let's roll right into this. There have been some changes to my board. You will see them as I continue to scroll. Actually, there is one towards the bottom of it. I'm getting a lot more all-22 tape footage in, and we're going to be doing a lot of stuff with that, so stay tuned. On Twitter, that's where I post a lot of my thoughts as well as a lot of the updates for the show. I announced exactly what I'm going to be doing in the year of 2024. We're going to be doing all 22 tape studies that I'm going to be doing live on Discord, so you can watch it for free there. But we're only going to be doing each game only once, or each player most likely only once, so if you want to be able to have access to that, when it starts dropping, I will be promoting the members feature of the show, which I have yet to fully set up because I want to make sure that it is ready for you guys to fully be able to use it when it comes out, but then you'll be able to watch all 22 tape studies with us. And honestly, the system that I found was absolutely incredible. I ended up falling in love with it even more, and I was like, you know what, screw it. This is going to be officially a huge part of the show. So it's another way for you guys to get even more content. And yeah, let's get on with this. We're on the way to 10K. We just breached 9, which is beautiful. Thank you guys so much for that. Let's get on with it. Starting out with the number 1 overall selection, the Bears go Marvin Harrison Jr., who is now my number 1 player in the class. Just there's nothing really wrong with Marvin. He's clocked over 22 miles per hour, so he definitely has the speed. He's just dynamic, fluid. There's nothing that's wrong with Marvin Harrison Jr. If I'm the Bears and I'm willing to trade out of this spot, I do think that the quarterback class, if you want to keep Justin, and this is a wild one here. Like, let's just say Joe Milton's there in the 3rd round. That's where you take a swing on it if you want to keep Justin and like have someone who has that mobility, arm strength, etc., to be at least more of a system guy if you want to see what can happen. The more I watch this quarterback class, the more I do think that, we might be overrating it a tad bit too much. So luckily, there have been some guys who have been underrating, but there's also quite a few quarterbacks who have been a bit overrated. But yeah, Bears going Marvin Harrison Jr. If you don't trade out that spot, that is the correct selection. New England Patriots just beat my Steelers. I don't know what that's going to do in the long run to you, but very well might kick you out of the number 2 overall selection. Does that exactly matter? I'm not sure. But the Patriots end up snagging Caleb Williams here. I actually finally did a full all-22 tape study of him. He is a legitimate blue-chip to generational level prospect. There's plays that he makes that nobody else on earth can. There are also plays where I don't understand what the hell is going on in his mind. He does look a little bit scared sometimes. I think he gets in his own head. But if there's somebody who can get somebody to focus properly and get out of their own head, I believe Bill Belichick might be that guy. So I would have a lot of faith that Caleb Williams can put it all out there on the field. I haven't seen any issues in terms of leadership, in terms of on the field. Even off the field, he just doesn't really have amazing answers to questions. A lot of us, are not great in interviews. Doesn't mean we're not a great talent, right? So, he's just a unique, kind of awkward guy. But at the same time, the talent is the talent, and he does a great job at it. Vegas moves up to select Drake May. The more I watch Drake May, the more I genuinely am confused. So I actually watched his game versus NC State yesterday. So he was one of the quarterbacks I graded. I graded pretty much most of the top guys. And I mean, I'm telling you, during the first half, if not 3/4 of that game, I literally had in my notes right down, I don't really think there's a single thing I've liked so far. He's hit like a deep shot here, a deep shot there. His deep ball is very, very nice. But he does have large streaks of games, or large streaks within games, where he is extremely underwhelming. And he, for some reason, when he rolls out to the left, he does not generate enough torque to get the ball to target. I saw 3, if not 4 balls hit the ground before the receiver while he was rolling out to his left. There's something up with that. He doesn't generate torque very well. And I think it also comes down to his mechanics. Drake May does have a lot of issues that I don't think are being discussed the way it should be. He also has some extremely high-level playmaking ability. I do see it. That's why his grade boosted for me a little bit. It's just I'm starting to properly evaluate players where, even though they're a quarterback, I shouldn't put them super high because at the end of the day, there's 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL, and you can't give every player a higher grade based on the fact that they're just a quarterback on your board. But Drake May, still a good talent. Again, you see, especially down the stretch of that NC State game where, he started getting in rhythm. There's a lot better processing. I just think that Drake is a lot streakier than what people want to admit. And it really is a post-draft evaluation as to where I think he'll end up in his career. Could be really great with a solid quarterbacks coach in a solid offensive system. It could be a little bit more on the negative side. And I would probably lean that here with Las Vegas because of the fact that I think, well, especially given the trade value, I'd prefer to opt for my number 2 quarterback in the draft, Jaden Daniels. Yeah, it's kind of weird saying that, but there's obvious reasons why I like to select that. Drake May, still a solid quarterback. I still think he'd be an upgrade, especially with the weapons that they have, but he's also durability concerns for me in the long run. He's definitely somebody who I'm concerned about because of how many hits he takes. I mean, not Jaden Daniels is far from immune to that, to be fair. Titans then going Joe Alt. They trade up with the Commanders. I don't like this at all. I don't know why the Commanders, who need an offensive tackle, would trade with the team who's going to take one of the 2 offensive tackles. That would be, beneficial. Unless the Commanders end up getting a right tackle, which again, this is a live reaction. We'll see what happens. But in the moment, like let's just say we're watching the draft with the 4th pick, the Titans select Joe Alt, right? I would not be a fan. I would say, Commanders, you need to have a good 8th pick. So my actual opinion is going to be dependent on what happens there. But I would not trade with the team who's going to take one of the guys who I think would be an amazing fit. So we'll see what happens. Bears go Olu Fashanu, so there goes both of the left tackles. You'd have to be really gunning for a right tackle at this point. Chicago Bears getting Olu is, it's a solid pick. I think Braxton Jones is adequate enough. You could honestly go Brock Bowers here. I'd personally trade out again based on the fact that the quarterbacks are relatively limited. Bo Nix, Drake May, you can debate on that. Jaden Daniels is still available. I wouldn't take him for the Bears at this point, but Olu Fashanu is still a solid pick. The Giants going Rome Odunze. Naturally, I continue watching all 22 of him. I don't see it. I think he's a second round, fringe first type of guy. I love the frame. He's a solid athlete. I just don't know if the production in college can actually translate to the NFL. And again, I'm going to be very intrigued. I think it's a great fit with the Giants because I think that's a role Rome Odunze can thrive in. 6'3", 211. That's a role that's been pretty vacant in New York for quite a while. And, I think he could put up a 1,000-yard season here. But he is, again, every player's a post-draft analysis, to be fair. But I just don't think he is a one-size-fits-all type of player. I don't. I really don't. And people are severely overrating him. I think he's on the same tier as A.D. Mitchell. To be fair, I like A.D. Mitchell a lot. I think Rome Odunze is a good player. But at the same time, people like to fantasize about how amazing Rome Odunze is going to be. Unfortunately, y'all, we've been seeing over the past couple years that a lot of these potential overhyped players, they don't always pan out. And, that means that people who get criticized for an entire year not being a fan of them, I might be wrong on this one, but on the ones you're right about, you can't really celebrate those victories. I hope I'm wrong with Rome because, again, good football is always more important than being right. But I think that's a wasted pick for the New York Giants because I think there's some solid wide receivers there. In round number 2, I would have taken Malik Neighbors and Keon Coleman over him any day. Chargers end up trading up here with the Jets. I don't get this either. I don't get why the Jets, who need a tackle, there's 2 tackles that are relevant that are remaining. Malik Neighbors is a good wide receiver. I'm actually going to regrade him relatively soon as well since I've been digging through some LSU tape. Him and Brian Thomas should be graded within a week. I'm in the middle of final season. It's also why it's been a little bit more slow on the full-time grading, but it is what it is. Wish me luck. It's my finals. It's my finals as well because I graduate in exactly 1 week. That's another crazy thing, but we'll get that. We'll talk about that another day. Chargers going Malik Neighbors is a good fit. I just don't believe in the trade idea. Commanders move back, still have some really good tackle options on the board and select Brock Bowers. I guess there's a consolation prize. We'll see what they do with that second round pick. Brock Bowers is a good selection if they can find a way to go after a tackle. But I just think they need to go after a tackle, and the value is proper there as well. Brock Bowers, my number 2 player in the class now. New Orleans Saints going Jaden Daniels. I don't know if the Saints really draft LSU players, but I think this would be an excellent addition. Great mobility, big playability, and people love him there in the state of Louisiana. Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Dallas Turner out of Alabama. I think this is perfectly fine. He's a high-end player, my number 4 player in the class, so who am I to complain about how great I think Dallas Turner is? And, it's a position they're going to need to eventually open up. I would prefer to maybe go after Keon Coleman if you're not going to go quarterback, but Dallas Turner being, a player who I have immense respect for, I could see it being a prime building piece for the future, and it looks like they're trying to, build through the trenches for the future. I would also be very open to going after a right tackle here. Surprise, surprise. My number 1 corner ends up being the number 1 corner taken, Terrion Arnold. Vegas with that trade back with Arizona. They end up taking Terrion Arnold. There's some troll in the comment section who says that Terrion Arnold's a 3rd round pick. That there's a reason why there's some of us who actually watch the tape and have genuinely honest opinions. And you know what? One of those genuinely honest opinions based on actually watching football is that Terrion Arnold might be better than Kool-Aid McKinstry. He might not be, but he at least is pretty damn close to Kool-Aid McKinstry talent level. He is incredible. Just super fluid athlete, very smart. He has like one Achilles heel, and it's those 45-degree speed cuts. But, for me, I saw how JPJ has been able to handle himself in terms of, whether the defensive system has mitigated it by having more guys who are going to be, effective versus a slant versus a post, or by simply having inside shade. That's going to be how Terrion Arnold can succeed. The only time that you could probably beat him if he does inside shade is going to be through a post corner route. So, there's very limited ways to beat Terrion Arnold. Kool-Aid McKinstry is incredible as well. I don't really have much to complain about either of them. I think Terrion Arnold's the better player, and the Cardinals end up getting him here at 11. Pick number 12, the Jets go Talisé Fuaga. So I got all pissy, and they still got a stud right tackle. So cheers to the Jets. Cheers to the Jets. I wouldn't have been as ballsy, but they ended up getting a 3rd round pick out of it. Power to them. 2 3rd-round picks, technically. So power to the Jets. They end up getting a stud player in Talisé Fuaga. Y'all know I've been a big fan of him since preseason. He's just one of those guys who I instantly had that bond with, and I'm glad to see that it's ended up panning out. Bills going Nate Wiggins. Another very smart player. I think he's on that tier of Terrion Arnold. I think Dalton Miller's the one who's writing this. It looks like he might be similar to me, very favorable of those corners who are very smart and can process the field, have very good instincts. Nate Wiggins is one of those corners. I'm not fully there yet in terms of his overall ability. I don't really like him in run support, even though he has a high run defense grade. I just didn't really see it translating to the NFL, and I think that's really what matters. Doesn't matter what you put on the field in college, because at the end of the day, your stats are going to be zeroed out when you go to the NFL. It's the talent you bring and how you play that really matters, and I don't really trust Nate Wiggins to fully transition to a number 1 corner in that respect. But still a very good player. I have him as a late first, and he is well deserving. If a team believes in him this much, I'm not going to shame him for taking him at 13. He's a good player, very good player. And again, with those instincts, it's very hard to find. Denver Broncos go Kool-Aid McKinstry. Yeah, with Surtain potentially not going to be there for the future. We'll see what happens. Even if he is, Kool-Aid McKinstry is going to be either a great dynamic duo or a great replacement. So you're getting a great player, great value there. I'd probably opt to go after Keon Coleman at this point, just because, one, to be fair, they do have a similar enough mold on their roster right now. He's a former SMU Mustang, slipping up on his name at the moment, but y'all know what I'm talking about. But, I think you could still get better at that position. Cortland Sutton, there's the name. Hello. I go to SMU. I should probably know that. He was my wallpaper when I first decided to declare, like I'm acting like an athlete, decided to choose to come to SMU. He was my way of showing my friends that I've decommitted from Pepperdine to come here. But Denver Broncos, regardless, doesn't matter. I would probably prefer to go after that receiver route. Kool-Aid McKinstry is a pretty damn close second. Johnny Newton for the Seahawks is incredible. I don't believe that they're going to be able to re-sign Leonard Williams, but of course the NFL cap situation is a mystery to me. I think Jazon Newton would be an A-plus move for that franchise. Next, we got the Falcons going J.J. McCarthy, quarterback out of Michigan. Quick move up here with the Rams. Sending a second-round pick to move up 3 spots is a bit rich, especially given the fact that the Steelers sent much less to move up a couple spots a little bit higher. I don't think J.J. McCarthy is remotely this good. If you're going to be willing to send a second-round pick, I mean, I'd do it for Justin Fields over J.J. McCarthy any day of the week. And then we got 17, the Bengals going J.C. Latham. With, to be fair, Keon Coleman on the board, it's hard to say that I'd opt for tackle, but I might opt for tackle. He's a really damn good player, and he's well deserving of this pick, too. He's progressed better than any other tackle has in this draft. Maybe Talise Fuaga could be someone who is an honorable mention in that list. Maybe he's a better progressor based on the overall board. Not in my eyes. J.C. Latham's taken a huge step up. So, got to give him credit. The Bengals steal an absolute stud. Keon Coleman's a big loss, but at the end of the day, you need either position. And honestly, with all those memes about Jamar Chase and Penei Sewell, this might be your way of being able to rewrite history. You got Arizona Cardinals here going Keon Coleman. Excellent player, excellent value. Big need as well. He's going to pair up very well with Michael Wilson for the future. Just adds that X build that you do not have on your roster. So corner and wide receiver and adding extra picks, I feel like that's pretty solid. Of course, defensive interior might have been the better way to go earlier, but it is what it is. Rams going Chop Robinson. This was part of that trade with Atlanta. Chop Robinson needs some great mentorship, but the ceiling is sky high on this guy. If he ends up hitting the way I think he could, he might end up being a top 10 edge rusher in the NFL. And at pick 19, that is ridiculous value. At pick number 20, Green Bay Packers going Cooper DeJean, versatile defensive back out of Iowa. I make this pick myself. You all know I'm going to be a full supporter of it. Super versatile. He can play literally anywhere. It's boundaries, slot, safety, wide receiver, returner. Ultimately, he's going to get snaps, and he's going to get better, and he's going to progress. He's a Green Bay Packer. I don't think he slips past the Green Bay Packers unless another team, ends up, or unless a crazy deal, like let's just say Olu Fashanu, God forbid, maybe he tears his Achilles and will need a couple more months to get ready, and somehow he slips. God forbid. Again, I pray to God that doesn't happen. But, if there's something wild like that and Green Bay Packers have that type of option, that's the only time I'll see them go after someone over Cooper DeJean. Minnesota Vikings going Denzel Burke. With the corners they have on roster, I don't think it's like the best corner squad in the NFL. Let's get that straight. But at the same time, they're all under contract for multiple years. I don't think it's a pressing issue. And I'm someone who used to take corner for the Vikings because I still believe they can upgrade there. So it's going to be an upgrade with Denzel Burke because I love Denzel Burke. He's getting a full re-eval as well. I've already watched the tape. I just did it in class, so I didn't do his actual grading upgrade or grading update. But Denzel Burke's a phenomenal player. I don't think the Vikings would be missing out by selecting him here. I thought that they honestly should have went after Deonte Banks last year, but Jordan Addison's been a really good player. But the Vikings need a quarterback. And you got Bo Nix, you got Michael Penix there. Michael Penix looks great in purple. That's probably the place I would have went. The Colts go Brian Thomas here at LSU. I got to watch a little bit more of all 22. Brian Thomas is a wide receiver too, who is a little bit more underdeveloped, but has a great size, could end up being a true X. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens there. I'm going to say TBD because I'm getting pretty close to a Brian Thomas eval. Steelers go out Marius Mims. If somehow he actually comes out, which I highly doubt it, but again, this is not news. It's more of a hunch. This would be my dream selection for the Steelers. It would be the best thing that could ever happen. Best thing since sliced bread. You got the Texans going Emeka Egbuka here, pairing him back up with CJ Stroud. He does have a similar role to Nico Collins, I believe, in this offense, but at the end of the day, you have that instant chemistry. You can always get better in the receiving core as well, and Emeka Egbuka is a very, very good weapon. So we've gotten prospect fatigue on Emeka Egbuka, but he is phenomenal. You got Kansas City Chiefs going AD Mitchell. I totally believe that this is one of the best moves that the Chiefs can make. He is incredible, just really good build, a little bit more on the light side maybe because he's sub 200 at 6'4", but he just brings so much smoothness after the catch ability that he didn't really have before Texas, or to be fair, coming off injuries and everything. He might not have had the health to fully display his ability. Somebody who I do believe I'll be ending up boosting up my board a little bit as the re-evals start coming in. Jacksonville Jaguars going Troy Fautanu, athletic offensive lineman out of Washington. I have him. Is he at 26 now? Where is he at? He's at 28. That's because I moved Jaden Daniels into there. I'm a huge fan of Troy Fautanu. I've been a fan of him. I thought he was an interior offensive lineman. He actually played a game there last year. He's just such a good talent. I think he needs to get comfortable playing guard rather than being a pure tackle. And he allowed 5 pressures in the game. For me, that's a big no-no. I don't want to have to stick a tight end next to you to help block the entire time to essentially treat you as a guard. But this is a team that honestly has the ability to put him anywhere. And he is very bulky-esque in terms of being extremely athletic and very feisty. It's a good system fit. He's a great player. Would not complain about that being the pick. I prefer maybe a wide receiver, but looking at the ones available, Troy Franklin actually wouldn't be a bad option to potentially replace Calvin Ridley. But, there's not many more options I'd like much more. Dallas Cowboys go Jeremiah Trotter Jr. I know that PFN loves Jeremiah Trotter Jr. He's a player who put up a lot of really good stats. I'm very partial to the shorter linebackers as a relatively, especially in football sense, short man myself. I prefer to support my fellow short brethren, vertically challenged brethren. Jeremiah Trotter at 6 foot, 230 pounds is one of those dudes. And he's light, obviously, 230 pounds. But he doesn't move like a Barrett Carter does. Barrett Carter was the athletic freak at 225 at 6 foot. So you got to see him right next to what he kind of should be in terms of mobility. He's relatively slow. He's a smart player, but the NFL is too fast. In my opinion, I am genuinely worried about his success in the NFL because I think he's very limited. We'll see how he trains over the offseason. Similar to Jordan Davis, I wasn't a fan of him until the combine because I saw how hard he worked to be in his best athletic shape. I think Jeremiah Trotter could have the same ascension to me because, again, he has the brains. It's more of the fact that he's short, small, slow. That's a big issue. You got the Detroit Lions going Leatu Latu edge out of UCLA. At this point, that value is ridiculous. And, even myself, not as a Latu lover, by the way, small typo error here, guys. But, not as a Latu lover myself, I do understand the idea of potentially pushing him down the board. But in reality, he's going to go well before this. He's an incredible edge talent with the tier 2 edge rushers all pretty much returning to school at this point in Landon Jackson, Princely Umanmielen. Him as part of that first group, I think his value is going to be pushed up quite a bit. If he's here, great move by the Lions. I think they could totally use it. And the fact that he could potentially kick inside might add some extra benefit. Of course, if Jared Verse is there, I'm taking Jared Verse over him. Somehow, some way, the Niners continue to fleece the NFL for edge rushers. But Jared Verse ends up snagging a killer deal to be next to Nick Bosa and have another year of the Niners having probably the best defensive line in the NFL. Baltimore Ravens going Ladd McConkey out of Georgia. Not a huge fan of Ladd McConkey on the Ravens necessarily. I think they should be going after a larger receiver if they do go after one like Xavier Legette. Huge fan of Xavier. Also maybe another reason why. Same thing with Troy Franklin. But, how many small, fast receivers have we seen on the Ravens? I mean, they actually have one right now that's succeeding, but the majority of them have failed. Why do you need another one? Doesn't really make sense. I like Ladd McConkey. Not fully there yet with him, but I think he's more inconsistent than anything, which is weird. But he has, I've had tweets saying he should be a top 5 pick in the 2025 NFL draft because I didn't even know he was a redshirt sophomore. But, you see that potential. He could be an elite weapon. I just don't believe it's the right spot on the Ravens. But then you got the Dolphins going Graham Barton, versatile offensive lineman out of Duke. I think he could end up working here. I'm so glad that you got Austin Jackson on that contract. He's well deserving of it. And it's actually a really friendly contract, too. But Graham Barton's going to be super versatile. You can plug him and play him wherever. I just don't trust him to be a pure offensive tackle. At 31, that's perfectly fine. Eagles going Xavier Legette. At this point, I honestly love it. I do. I think there's better options on the board. Let me clarify. Obviously, I do believe when you could target a Braylon Trice, that, Braylon Trice is probably going to be the option. Kingsley Suamatea is probably going to be the more likely option. But at the end of the day, Xavier Legette is an incredible weapon for the Eagles because not only does he replace the deep threat ability of Quez Watkins, which is what he's going to be doing, he adds a new element of size, and that is just awesome. I would love to see Xavier Legette in Philly. If there's some continual issues with A.J. Brown, because he does have a little bit of a temper, he potentially could evolve into a wide receiver one as well. I love the fact that you can have him as an instant impact as well as a potential contingency plan if things hit the fan. And I love it. I love it. Carolina Panthers go Troy Franklin. They've been looking for a wide receiver one, tried to trade for one, but didn't get it. Troy Franklin would be an excellent get for the Panthers. And yeah, I mean, we can just leave it there. I would also mention Kingsley Suamataia at this point. Offensive line upgrade, probably going to be kind of key to protect Bryce Young. Patriots go Xavier Worthy. With their new quarterback and Caleb Williams, according to this mock draft, the Patriots could totally use some extra firepower. And, I do believe Xavier Worthy could be his Jordan Addison. That might work pretty damn well. Good deep threat. Next, we have the Arizona Cardinals going Tyler Nubin out of Minnesota. I'm curious. I want to actually kind of read this a little bit. They just want to go after Budda Baker's replacement, I guess. And the value is incredible. Tyler Nubin is a great player, and he could be a very valued addition to a lot of safety cores. I do believe that he could be a valued addition, especially since Budda has requested a trade in the past. I think getting Nubin here, seeing if he works out in preseason and potentially trading Budda to a competitor might be one of the better moves that you can make. And it's not again, I think there might be better moves like getting Kingsley Suamataia at this point and moving him to right tackle, getting Paris Johnson, moving him to left, getting rid of DJ Humphries. There's better moves in my opinion. But, I like to criticize the pick as its own. And, this is a new take that I haven't necessarily thought about too much. Commanders going Jordan Morgan. So they did end up getting a tackle. I'd prefer Kingsley just because of the versatility and see what I get with my second pick. But Jordan Morgan is going to be a very nice addition there for the Commanders. Giants go Kingsley Suamataia to play the right tackle. I would pray that we could trade Evan Neal away, but this is an excellent move for the Giants. Again, there are those quarterbacks that are still on the board. Want to mention that, but Kingsley Suamataia, a well-deserving pick. Packers going Trey Henderson. I thought that he was potentially considering going back, but I think that was more of a rumor than an actual report. Trey Henderson hasn't really wowed me enough, especially because he hasn't been consistently healthy to come out as the number one running back. But again, that's TBD. Haven't done my re-evals on running backs yet. Commanders go JT Tuimoloau as well. Well-deserving pick. They also, I believe, have another one. This might have been the pick that they ended up getting as part of that free trade that they got. JT Tuimoloau, it's a much-needed player at a much-needed position. So Brock Bowers, Jordan Morgan, JT, that's a good way to start it off. And then they get Braylon Trice. So, they end up hitting the home run here in terms of 3 killer second-round picks. That's hence also why I like to do live mock drafts. Braylon Trice, I think he's better than JT Tuimoloau, but who cares? They're on the same team. Good picks regardless. Tampa Bay Buccaneers go Bo Nix. Yeah. Hell, if you could end up with Dallas Turner and Bo Nix, giving you an A+. Giving you definitely an A+. Bo Nix, to me, he's extremely streaky, similar to, honestly, very similar to Drake May. He does like to do a lot more checkdowns, and, to me, I think that's perfectly fine. He has the arm to hit those bigger plays, and he has the mentality to hit the bigger plays, but a lot of colleges play a lot more, away from the line of scrimmage, and he takes advantage of that, and he's a really good running back, so I can't really blame him. So I think Bo Nix actually might be a very valued addition there in Tampa Bay. At 42, the Cardinals take Byron Murphy the second. They need defensive interior help. I'd rather go Tavondre, but Byron Murphy, I am not going to complain about. The Los Angeles Chargers then go Cam Kinchens. Yeah, right. Alohi Gilman, his contract's up. I think it's time to replace him. Cam Kinchens is incredible value. Highly doubt he comes out, but at the end of the day, his running mate there and James Williams just decided to return, and they're not getting much better when you got Jeff Sims, who's going to be, I think it's Jeff Sims, coming to be the quarterback there. Miami is just not doing well in terms of that quarterback market. Philadelphia Eagles then go Kalen King, one of my blue chip players in the class. You know how I feel about that. I don't think they need to go after a corner given the fact they have 7 on roster after this year. But at the same time, when you can get a blue chip player at 44, just go BPA. You don't have to go exactly for need. The Saints go Patrick Paul here. with both tackles on contract to um their final hope at left tackle. No, I still think you'd be trying to try out Trevor Penning. They're on contract till 2027. If you're not going to be going and drafting a quarterback, because you could have gotten Michael Penix here as well, want to mention that, then, you know, then just to be completely rude and, zero respect for keeping it nice and easy, you could just end up seeing, like, if Trevor Penning develops and letting your quarterbacks that you have on roster now take the hits. But, that is what it is. Patrick Paul, I don't think is an upgrade at all over Trevor Penning. Wasn't a fan of Trevor Penning, to be fair, but it is what it is. Giants then go Cooper Beebe. Again, just want to mention that Michael Penix is on the board, and this team could totally use Michael Penix, but because you would also be pairing him back up with Rome Odunze. But Cooper Beebe would be a nice consolation prize. Rams go Cedric Van Pran out of Georgia here. I think that the Rams could definitely use an upgrade over center, and offensive line is a position I will never criticize a team for taking. Bengals then go defensive tackle Leonard Taylor out of Miami. Not against it at all. This team does need to get some extra juice there on the interior with Reader, and Leonard Taylor needs to eventually develop. He needs to develop, and DJ Reader would be a great mentor for that. Steelers then they trade up for Zach Frazier. Why? Zach Frazier is not that incredible. I like Zach Frazier. I thought I was higher on Zach Frazier than most people coming into the year. Apparently not. Zach Frazier is not this good. I guess I have to go back into the tape. Apparently he got that much better since last time I saw him. But Jackson Powers Johnson is here. That's who you're going to be taking. Center's a big issue for the Steelers. There's actually quite a few of them that are still on the board. Definitely not agreeing with that trade there. Texans going Bo Braid. Someone who I want to watch a little bit more in all 22, but I love Maryland DBs. Y'all know that. I'm a huge fan of it. And, this team does need to get some contingency plans there at deep safety. Green Bay Packers, I'm going Kalen Bullock. So going after two safeties. For me, I'd be wanting to opt maybe to go after one of those offensive tackles that are developmental. Karan Amajaje primarily is a guy who I love. Or you can go after Tyler Guyton at this point, even though I think Tyler should be going back to school or transferring to a better university. Minnesota Vikings go Trey Benson, running back out of Florida State. To me, RB1 in the class. They do. I had a Vikings fan trying to say that Cam Akers and, I absolutely love the running backs that are on your roster. But Trey Benson's leagues ahead. Leagues ahead. Ty Chandler, I love Ty Chandler. I want him to be good enough to say, hey, we don't need to take a running back. Maybe you don't need to take a running back this early, but this guy's damn for sure going to be an upgrade over what you have. Rams then going to Vondre Sweat. I honestly could see this switching with the Cardinals and being a little bit better system fits overall. But he's not 340 pounds. He's actually over 360. He's 362. Devondre Sweat's an absolute monster, and the Rams would be very blessed to have him there at 53. Pick number 54, the Bills go Rod Moore. This is part of that trade. I haven't seen enough from Rod Moore to really fall in love with him. I'll wait and, we'll wait for all 22 grades because I never did my all 22s on safeties. That's because the tape is atrocious. But now we're getting a lot more, and it's actually getting to the point where it is viable. Because, again, I'm not going to make opinions based on, not legitimate tape. To Tyreek Williams going to the Cleveland Browns. He is not 330. He is 290 pounds. So this is something I have a big issue with, not with PFN, but with college in general. There's multiple different sources with multiple different weights. At the start of the year, Tyreek talked about how he was 320 pounds. All of a sudden, Ohio State comes out and says he's 290. PFF comes out and says he's 290. Every other place is coming out and saying he's 290. PFN has been pretty far behind on that in terms of actually updating their stats. And if he is 320 pounds, or 330 in this instance, then it makes sense. But if he's 290, not worth it at this point. There's some other defensive tackles you can draft later on. So not ripping PFN particularly apart for it. I'm more so ripping apart the whole system. Is why can't we just get one figure for what their actual weight is? It is what it is. Indianapolis Colts go Jatavian Sanders out of Texas. I don't think they really need to grab another weapon. To me, I don't really think that you need to do that. That's just not down my alley, so to speak. I don't think tight end needs to be upgraded to this degree. I don't think Jatavian Sanders would be an upgrade over what's there right now. Brandon Doyless then goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I do believe he actually could end up being a Jaguar, just super versatile edge rusher slash defensive interior. I don't know why, but it's just one of those intangible things. When you read Brandon Doyless to the Jaguars, like, checks out. Checks out. Very, very athletic player at 290 pounds. And then we got the Chiefs going Ruke Ororo. Speaking of a guy who's athletic at 290, this dude's 295 and pure muscle. Pretty sure he's not even from the U.S. I think he's from Africa. The dude's an absolute beast. Like, he just dropped to 33 solely because I had Jaden Daniels move up. But this guy's essentially a top 32 player on my board. The Chiefs would be blessed to have him, and he's super versatile, which is a big plus for that Chiefs system. You got the Lions going Kamari Lassiter. So, I don't know why, but over the past 2 years, my Lions fans have been blessed. They've been blessed in mock drafts by pretty much getting everything they could ever want. Now, when it comes to drafting in reality, it's like a 50-50 shot if they do it correctly or not. The players end up being good, but the order, could be something left desired. But Kamari Lassiter is going to be an incredible addition on the Lions. I do have some other corners that I think might be a better day one impact, but maybe not anybody who'd be a longer term bonus as him. Cowboys going Quinyon Mitchell, another ball hawk. So, you'd be potentially having him be your corner 4 for a year. We'll see what happens with that. I'd prefer to go after offensive line. Personally, get Karan Amajaje, have Tyron Smith for 1 more year, let Karan develop, and then start him. That's my dream scenario. Have Junior Colson come in as a starting linebacker. Apparently, Danny Stutzman's coming out, so have Danny be your linebacker. That's where I would rock. I do know that you've gotten a couple guys who've been playing pretty well at linebacker, but we've seen that people shuffle through that position really quickly. It's hard to be very consistent. You got the Ravens then going McKinley Jackson. I think I've made this pick myself. Super versatile, great athlete at 320. Needs to put it together a little bit better. And honestly, the Ravens, it's hard to find a team that I think could make McKinley be better as an athlete or as an overall player than the Baltimore Ravens. Niners then go Tyler Guyton. I mean, of course, they steal an absolute stud. I mean, can you imagine if the Niners got Tyler Guyton and Jared Verse? I'd rip my hair out because I'm tired of seeing them be absolutely dominant, but this is the way. This is the way. Pick number 63, the Dolphins then go Cole Bishop. Not athletic enough for me to be remotely worth a day 2 pick. Good player overall, someone who I would love to have. I believe he might be designated to special teams and then be a pretty solid guy to fill in. Cole Bishop's a good player, but just similar to Jeremiah Trotter, I don't think he has NFL athleticism. I do think the Dolphins could use a safety, but if you're going to be going after a safety at this point, I'd actually just go after Javon Bullard and see if you can develop him into better deep safety. And then finally, at pick 64, the Eagles go Edgerrin Cooper, undersized linebacker at Texas A&M, 6'3", 230 pounds. For me, I think Edgerrin Cooper's a great talent. I think this pick on its own is solid. Knowing that there are Mike build linebackers on the board, and that's one of the things this team has not been able to acquire apart from in free agency, I'm going Junior Colson all day. Going Junior Colson all day. I don't care. That's what I'm rocking. And you need to be able to get finally some linebacker size there that is not an aging veteran that, you're lucky to get someone like Zach Cunningham. You need to have someone who's there more long-term. So that's why I would go that route. But Edgerrin Cooper is a solid player, super well balanced. So that is going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching and supporting the show as always. See you on the far side.